Hi, I'm Clay Wimberley, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the Wimberley Head versus the Sidekick. A lot of people probably have questions about which head is going to work best for them, and I'm going to go over some of the pros and cons of the two heads. So over here on my left we've got the Wimberley Head, which is a tripod head in and of itself. It's you don't need to attach anything else to it except for your lens. You can see it's a gimbal head. It balances the lens perfectly, and everything is laid out very ergonomically on it. You have the knob that tightens the tilt movement of the lens, and the knob that tightens the pan movement of the head are both located on the same side. Makes it very easy to use. If you're going to be using a big lens, if you're going to have a tripod and a head set up specifically for big lens work, if you're doing bird photography or something like that, most people prefer the Wimberley Head if you're strictly doing telephoto work. Now, over here I've got the Sidekick. The Sidekick, I'll put a lens on it here in a little bit, but once it's set up, it behaves pretty similarly to the Wimberley Head. But the interesting thing about the Sidekick is that it's not a head in and of itself. You can see it attaches to a ball head. Here I've got it attached to an Arca Swiss Z1 ball head, and in order to use it, you lock the ball. So here's the Arca Swiss Z1 ball head with the ball loose. You drop the quick release of the ball head down into the notch, and you lock that down and keep it locked. Then you put the Sidekick in, and you use the Sidekick to control the tilt of your lens, and then the ball head gives you your panning action. So let me put the lens on the Sidekick. So you can see with the Sidekick, you really have a similar sort of action that you have with the Wimberley Head. Now, the great thing about the Sidekick is if you want to use a smaller lens, like a wide-angle lens or something like that, that doesn't have a lens foot or a lens collar on it, then you can just take the Sidekick out, and you've got your ball head right here, ready to use with smaller lenses. With the Wimberley Head, you know, it's a dedicated head specifically for long lenses, and you can't easily use shorter focal length lenses on it. With the Sidekick, you can always take the whole thing out and use your ball head. Now, when you're using the Sidekick for a long lens, it gives you very similar action to the Wimberley Head, but it's a little bit more of a contraption. You got to make sure you don't accidentally loosen the ball and have the whole thing flop over. And you can see on this Z1 ball head, the locking knob for the panning motion of the head is this small little lever here, and it's a little bit harder to find, and a little bit more you have to kind of fumble around to find it. It's not as ergonomically laid out as the Wimberley Head. So it's a little bit more difficult to lock everything down. It's a little more difficult to set everything up, but it gives you a lot of versatility because you can always remove the Sidekick and use the ball head for shorter lenses. And that's the basics of the pros and cons of the Sidekick versus the Wimberley Head.